Hey, it's Trent. Trent takes on his back for just a real brief one. This is a lovely November 1st, Friday morning that I get to record. Halloween is behind us. The kids had a great time out trick-or-treating with their friends. It was a very old school Halloween around the house here, apartment here. It was nice. I kept the puppy at home and we kind of hid. And then when the kids came back from their trick or treating, we opened the door and did candy handouts after that. And it was fun. And I was able to keep the dog from losing her mind, which was like, yay, awesome. It's her first Halloween. She's still a puppy. She's still a maniac. Anyway, something's coming up next week, an election, I guess. And maybe I should just have a couple parting thoughts before that happens. So let's go. Every week, every few days, there's a new revelation. This election season has been the most insane ever. Kamala Harris has been the Democratic nominee for a whopping 102 days. And it's razor thin, even though nobody can seem to understand why. But polling is polling. It's a snapshot in time. I happen to think that there's a polling error that's not being recognized, and that's in the incredible uptick in women's turnout, and women specifically are voting really heavily to the Democratic side. The gender gap in this election is insane. Harris is up, I want to say it's 14 points on average amongst women, and Trump is up almost exactly the same among men. The difference is women have historically been better propensity voters than men. And in this cycle, they're actually showing up at an even higher rate than usual. So we'll see what happens, come election day. But the early lead up is there's a lot. Over 65 million Americans have already cast their ballots. Thank you for voting. I voted. Mine's already been counted. Thank you, state of California, for being up and sending me info every time it hits a checkpoint. We've received your ballot. We've counted your ballot. Thank you. It's a nice system that we have here in California. Other states are adopting pieces of it, and we're getting closer and closer toward better accessibility, and that's really what it boils down to. I've talked a lot about voter integrity on this show being kind of like scapegoated, and it's just crazy. 3.1%, I want to say it was. God, I just heard the stat this morning. There's a percentage of ballots every cycle that are spoiled. And spoiled ballots, that's a generic term for any ballot with a flaw that doesn't allow it to be counted for whatever reason. And it was a mighty number in a time when just a handful of thousands of votes across 7 states are going to determine the outcome, because the Electoral College, which I've mentioned before, is bullshit. This is going to be razor thin, and the fact that we're spoiling ballots because for multiple reasons, instead of curing them, they just throw them out, is brutal. And to cure a ballot is to fix a spoiled ballot by correcting whatever problem it is. Maybe it's folded wrong. Maybe they used a pencil instead of a pen. Maybe, it was returned to the wrong place. That actually happens too. If you have an assigned place that you drop off your ballot, they don't do this in California, but in some states they do. You have a precinct, and if you don't get your ballot back to that precinct, you take it somewhere else, they won't count it. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of reasons that ballots get spoiled. There are a lot of machinations that go into it. There are also a lot of safeguards to keep factual, workable ballots in the system, and they are nonpartisan. There are nonpartisan poll workers, and then there are partisan poll watchers at all these places. Both parties will have, some sort of representation when it comes to verifying votes. Also, 93% of all votes in this country are backed up with a paper ballot. It should be 100%. I'm not going to get into the states where that doesn't happen. They all have something in common, and it's probably not what you think. They're Republican. Every state should have paper backups, because with paper backups, you can always go back and look at the actual ballots themselves. That's how recounts get done. That's how you help, you do audits and help with the overall integrity of your election. There are a lot of things that are in place, and all of the Trump people are already screaming that there's cheating going on. There's not. There has been some shenanigans that have been caught. All of the shenanigans I've seen reported are by Republicans. And then there are some videos that are being passed around that are just blatantly being misrepresented. One is a postmaster delivering a box of ballots to the post office at the end of his route, and they're like, "This guy's sneaking in ballots." No, that's the postmaster delivering the fucking mail. God damn. Anyway, there's also a couple of Russian fakes out there. There's a bunch of shit online. Most people will never see it. Those of us who are terminally online, those of us who are on social media, those of us who listen to podcasts, those of us who talk about this kind of shit, we become obsessed with it, but the average American has no fucking idea that it's happening. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about. And, good on them. Ignorance in this case is bliss. Ignorance is bliss. Oh, to be not paying attention again. It's a dream I have, but I have too much responsibility. I have children that I have to raise. I have a society that I want to see tended to. So, I do shit like this. And for better or worse, I'm on that side, if you will. But we've got just a few days left until actual election day. Everyone can be, I like to use the phrase pucker factor, referring to what status my rear end is in. How much of my seat am I sucking up into my butt because I'm that terrified of what's going on? The pucker factor works on things like roller coasters or in haunted houses, for example, or when you're waiting for an election to determine whether or not your society is going to continue to be a free and fair democracy or a fascist state where the military is going to start deporting people and jailing dissidents. So, my pucker factor is pretty high right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give it like a 7. Mainly not because I don't think that the votes are there for the winning. I think that Kamala is going to run away with this. I'm not happy about the potential shenanigans that come between Tuesday, Wednesday, November 6th, and the January ironically, again, it's January 6th. January 6th will be the verification date again. So I'm worried about the shenanigans that are going to happen between the two, both in courts of law and in the streets and in assorted state houses. I think it's going to be wacky and bad. So that being said, whatever. Those things are out of our hands as voters, as people who are trying to participate in this realistic and legal system. We'll see what happens in the end. That being said, there's my prediction pre-Tuesday, the 5th. Kamala Harris wins the presidency. I believe that the House will swing back to the Democrats, and the Senate I would rate as an absolute toss-up. God, anything can happen there. From the Democrats failing to protect it to the Democrats failing to protect their vulnerables, yet somehow picking up seats in places like Texas. So anything can happen in the Senate. I do think it's going to be razor thin. That Texas race is just wild. Colin Allred is a real deal guy who he's a real public servant who's trying to do his best. And Ted Cruz is a fucking embarrassment. Anyway, I think the Senate's a toss-up. I think the House is going to swing back to the Dems, and Kamala will win the White House. I do think that they really, really need control of the Senate too to actually get some stuff done. Republicans aren't interested in governance. They're interested in intransigence. They're interested in being an anchor around everyone's neck in government, just breaking the system so that it doesn't function anymore. That's their goal. And when that is your goal, that's relatively easy to do, honestly. It's easier to break than it is to create. It's easier to destroy than to create. But we've got to deal with, we got to play the hand we're dealt, and it'll be what it is. So all that said, I do want to make one more statement about, one, this is a fresh one, about the Joe Biden gaffe, as they say. Joe Biden was on a Zoom call, Latinos for Harris. I think it was Voto Latino was the one that sponsored it. And he was making a statement about comedian Tony Hinchcliffe's Puerto Rico is a floating island of garbage comments from the Madison Square Garden rally over the weekend. And in his discussion about it, Joe said that's not who he thinks of when he thinks of Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans that he knows in his home state of Delaware and everywhere across the nation are hardworking, good American people. And then he said the only garbage he can think of that's floating out there is the supporters. He said this Trump supporters. Anyway, what he meant to say, and then he stumbled over his words and he stuttered. And then he said vilification or something like that. Degrading comments about Puerto Ricans. He was specifically referring to Tony Hinchcliffe being garbage. Not even the guy, but the comments themselves being garbage. When you take out the stutter, it's all there. But that 6 and 1/2 does the other. He actually, the White House actually sent out a clarification right afterwards saying, okay, so here's what he was trying to say. And it all makes sense. And I want to be upfront about this. Joe Biden has gone out of his way for his entire career. Honestly, he is as work across the aisle as any politician in modern history. This guy does not see Republicans as garbage. He sees them as partners in the actual governance of this nation, even when they don't see it themselves. He has gone out of his way to explain that he's the president for everybody. He has done everything with the best interests of everyone in mind. This is not the kind of thing that a Joe Biden says or even thinks. This taking it out of context the way the right has. Okay. Joe Biden is not that guy. He wouldn't have said it if you gave him 100 chances to say it. He wouldn't have said it on purpose. So that being said, I don't believe for 1 second that it was an intentional slight toward Republicans. Number 2, let's take a second to understand that Donald Trump calls people who don't support him garbage. He calls them enemies of the people. He's threatening to unleash the National Guard or maybe even the military on people who disagree with him, considering them enemies. The enemy within. Okay? He calls us trash on a daily basis. I'm going to put that out there. Okay? So there's no both sidesism here. Let's be real. And the other thing is, if Joe Biden, and he didn't do this for the record, but if Joe Biden came out and said Republicans are garbage for the way they behave, he would be justified. Think about it. The Let's Go Brandon chants, the Fuck Joe Biden t-shirts, the Fuck Joe Biden flags, the Fuck Your Feelings flags. These people are vulgar, grotesque, mean-spirited towards this man who's doing nothing but trying to be the best governing president he can be. He didn't hurt any of those people, not even a little bit. Any injury that they have is just made up in their minds. And they're running with it, by God. Trump's driving around in a garbage truck. I just saw Hulk Hogan, video of Hulk Hogan on Jesse Waters wearing a garbage vest while he's talking about being in the cabinet for Donald Trump. This is where we are, man. But look, if he were to be pissed off at Republicans and be like, these people have made my life hell, he would be within his rights, man. You guys have been completely unfair. You guys, Republicans, have been completely unfair to Joe Biden the entire time he's been in office. So, 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. Honestly, it's a bunch of fake outrage, pearl clutching by some people who say the most outrageous bullshit constantly. So I don't buy it. I don't care. I also don't think that he meant it like that. Also, if you're offended, then don't vote for Joe Biden, who, by the way, isn't running for re-election right now. So, I would also like to say Trump has had every opportunity to say that whatever it was Tony Hinchcliffe said was beyond the pale, and we don't agree with that. We don't, that's not what we feel. He doesn't say that. He doesn't apologize for the people that he platformed that said this shit. He doesn't apologize because he doesn't know how to apologize. Think about it. Search your memory breaks. Has Donald Trump ever apologized for anything in public that you know of? Nope. That's fucking sociopathic behavior right there. So, all those people who don't apologize for shit, think about that. You weren't raised like that. Nobody was raised like that. This is the family values party. We refuse to apologize when we hurt people. We refuse to apologize when we do things wrong. Muslim bans, child separation. Oh. The way they handled COVID, what a joke. And when they take back the White House, if they were to take back the White House, the plans that they have in place for the next, they call it Project 47. It's really 2025. Agenda 47 is what they call it. It's even more ominous as Agenda 47, but it's just Project 2025. They're going to defund. They're going to eliminate the Department of Education, defunding education across the states, the United States. Why? Is it because they want you to be stupid? Is it? Just asking for a friend. They want to deport 13 million people. They don't care who they hurt in the process. They're going to split up families. They don't care. They're going to deport United States citizens. They don't care. They don't care. They're going to deport whoever the fuck they want to deport. That's what they're going to do. They're going to round up their dissidents. They're going to stop your peaceful protests with the United States military. That's their plan. That's their plan. They're going to outlaw video games and porn. So for all you bros out there, just saying, that's on the list too. This is a fascist regime waiting to take over the United States, and a big chunk of registered voters are all in on it. I'm hoping that women save us. I believe they will. Women understand. Women get it. Women have empathy. They have understanding. They have kindness. They have love in their heart. They know deep down what's right every single time. That's what my mom did. That's what my grandma did. That's what my sister does. That's what my wife does. That's what my daughters do. They know what's right deep down in their soul. They know what has to be done and that they have to take care of each other and they have to take care of men because we're too fucking stupid to do it ourselves. Men have a tendency to not think long term. That's our bad. That's our problem. We have to fix it. You have to start thinking long term, gentlemen. You're idiots. Women think long game. And that's what makes them better at this shit than we are, honestly. So, there you go. I'm about as pro-women as any guy could be. I trust you. Save us. I'll help. I'm helping in every way I can. God save us all. Well, women save us all. We need you. All that said and done, I'm going to check out for now, and I will be back next week. I don't know if I'm going to do a show on Tuesday or not. I'll do one after, well, we'll examine the fallout, whatever happens. So we'll talk to you next week. In the meantime, please, please, please be good humans. It's the least we can do. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.